Erev Tov Yerushalayim. Good evening from Yerushalayim. We are here in the OU Israel Center, the Seymour J. Abrams Jerusalem World Center. My name is Avi Berman, and we're here with our second OU Israel podcast. Today, I am honored to have two incredible guests. They happen to be my bosses, so I got to talk really nice about you guys. But the honest truth is that I'm going to talk really nice to you guys because I respect you tremendously for the incredible work that you're both doing for the Jewish people.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate being here with you.
Thank you very much. For any Jew around the world, it's devastating, the horrible tragedy, right? But as leaders of the Jewish world, and that's who's sitting next to me, you're probably going through your mind, wait a second, what is going to happen? Like, okay, who do I have to check in with first? What are points of action, et cetera, et cetera. Could you describe a little about what that means to be a Jewish leader with that on your head? We'll talk to you because you found out first.
I was here in Sukkot, I was here in Simchat Torah. And because I was in Israel, I had a different perspective. On Sunday, the senior leadership team of OU Israel met to talk about, what do we do?
And you joined us on Zoom because everybody was afraid to leave the house.
Right. We had two meetings, one at I think it was 9:30 in the morning, and one was 9:30 at night.
Yep.
Which I took as we were heading back to the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus there, the focus in Israel at the OU at that point was on our people. Let's find all of our folks. We have people in Sderot and other places that were affected, in Ofakim. What do they need? And so the focus immediately was to take care of our own people. First thing, and before we can even begin to think about what we do for anybody else.
When you say our own people, you're talking about hundreds of people.
Yeah, so literally hundreds of people. The OU has, I think, 350 employees here in Israel, of whom I think by the end of that first Sunday, 150, 170 had been called up to the army for duty.
And then another 60 spouses.
Hundreds of families, that have been broken up sort of overnight while dealing with the shock. That was the first focus.
There's a lot that's blurry about the last few weeks and certainly that transition and things.
Like any trauma.
Things happened quickly. Right? We've spoken about what was happening here in Israel. But very quickly, this morphed into a global and certainly a North American topic as well because of the rallies and the anti-Semitism that wasn't really even cloaked in anti-Zionism as it sometimes has been, but just really pretty straight.
Anti-Semitism.
Yeah, comments and people jumping to do rallies before there was any response.
But in North America, it's spinballed into, like you said before, an anti-Semitism. I think everybody knows that the OU is very involved in college campuses with the JLIC program, very involved in high schools, public high schools with the JSU and public school programs, with teenagers and NCSY all across North America. And just you have your finger on the pulse. So for those of us that might not have our finger on the pulse as far as what's happening on campuses today, what's happening in public schools today, could you just bring us a little up to date? Yeah.
So look, not everything that the newspapers always talk about is exactly how.
Really?
Just on breaking news here. Mitch and I went last week to visit a couple college campuses. I spent some time with another college campus over Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And there has definitely been a rise in anti-Semitic comments, certainly in social media, certainly in some college campuses.
It is.
It's not as bad as the media make it out to be, and certainly safe, I would say. To in most places, we both take the subway to work, train. Wear my yarmulke. I'm aware of my surroundings, maybe more than I used to be, but there's not been one comment made to me, or I haven't felt in danger.
But on the college campuses, I think people are not feeling physically threatened, but they're definitely feeling stress, and they're feeling under attack. Not knowing, whether the person sitting next to them in class is the one who was screaming intifada at them last night.
And that's the chilek between October 6th and October 8th, is people who you thought were your friends.
You suddenly found out
They're not your friends. People who you thought, okay, we're the same, we're alike, both human beings, we care about the same kinds of things, same campus.
we're in the same classes.
Not the same. And so that shift, that is the shock. It's not a physical necessarily challenge. It's not even a verbal challenge, on social media. It's a shift in reality that I am different. Now, what's interesting and hopeful is that some of that difference has led to people saying, I don't know, I want to take my mezuzah off my door. I'm not going to wear a yarmulke, that kind of thing. I think my experience anecdotally is much less than people saying, I want to identify
As a Jew.
So, the shock that, Josh is describing about, the person sitting next to me used to be my friend, and now they're like wearing a mask at a rally. We've known for a long time that university campuses are hotbeds for all kinds of extreme ideologies that are not necessarily consistent with Zionism or Torah Judaism, to put it mildly. What was shocking to us is the fact that our high school kids are experiencing the same thing. In public high schools, and this has been somewhat reported, but not nearly as widely reported, many high school kids are feeling that same kind of threat, and from teachers who are making comments, pro-Palestinian comments or anti-Israel comments, who have even less kelim to deal with it than college kids. So that at least to me came as quite a shock. But to follow up on what Josh said, on the other hand, NCSY has a program called JSU, where we have Jewish clubs in public high schools around the U.S. and Canada. I think
Yep.
the U.S.
And Canada too.
Canada too?
Yep.
Okay. I should know, right?
It's okay, nobody's listening.
Yes. So on October 6th, we had 300 JSU clubs. 300 clubs in different public high schools across North America.
Very impressive.
Since then, 30 new clubs have opened up. 30.
In new schools.
In new schools. Meaning that, kids and these, all the clubs that JSU runs are motivated by kids in the high school, Jewish kids. They want to have a Jewish club. And, while there have been incidents reported about, kids, taking off the yarmulkes or their Jewish stars, et cetera, many, many, many more kids are saying, if they hate me, I need to find out more, what it's about, and I need to find belonging and connection with other Jews. So there's really, I think, an opportunity for us to really engage kids, particularly, but engage others in the community who are feeling very much not threatened directly, but they are feeling threatened emotionally, psychologically, and they want to feel closer part of the Jewish community.
Yeah, I think that's one of the findings, right, is that there's been a growth.
You're saying it's a boomerang effect.
It's, once heard Jonathan Sarna refer to it as a self-negating prophecy. You say everything's going negative, then everybody reacts and says, no, I'm gonna show positivity. I think there's that a little bit, like this sort of that reaction in the opposite direction. And I think the shock has led to people saying, okay, I'm missing something here. So I want to reach out and find.
A month ago, I was ready to assimilate.
I was fine where I was. This woke us up. Right? We talk about all during Elul, Hisaurus, right?
Yep.
The shofar is blowing. Maybe we didn't get it. Maybe we didn't get it loud enough. And so the shofar blew a little louder, unfortunately. And so now people are waking up and saying, there's something I don't understand. There's an answer I don't have. I need a different meaning. So instead of running away, because that is emptiness, I need to run to something. I don't know if they're running. I'm not saying all of a sudden everybody's, I don't have a sign that people are selling out of tefillin. Tzitzis. But tefillin, I'm not sure. Right? I'm not sure how many.
In the army they are.
Yeah. But there is this, all of a sudden, there's something I'm missing. Where can I get it? We run Israel, we run Birthright, right? Israel Free Spirit. Birthright, I've seen in reports to say that all these people who came to Israel through Birthright, so many of them are saying, I'm lucky that I came before so that I know what the reality is, and I know there's this beauty there, and I need to connect with it again.
As opposed to those that have never been here and are buying the bluff in the media.
You know, that's another topic, you know, that we could talk about. It's especially significant in the 18 to 25 area that we're talking about. We have not done a good enough job in that age group. Which means probably we have not done a good enough job in social media. We haven't learned how to do that better. And that's at the forefront, I think, of where we need to focus some of our activities going forward.
Yeah, I think one of the beautiful things about the huge rally that took place last week in Washington, D.C., which I'm sure everyone was either at or heard about, is that for everyone there, I think, it was an emotional experience. Mm-hmm. It was, I hate to use the word catharsis, I'm not sure what it means, yep. But it was an experience of, hey, we're not alone. There's a lot of people, and 300,000 people looks like a trillion. Like when you're there, yeah. Are there that many people in the world? There's just people everywhere, yeah. And everyone wearing blue and white, carrying signs of the hostages, pictures, right, coming together, and they're across the spectrum of Jewish life in America. People on the way home
with American flags as well.
Yeah, for sure. Much appreciation for the tremendous support of the U.S. government, politicians, many of whom were at the rally. But on the way home, we stopped at a rest stop on the highway and came across everyone knew there was Jewish. They were all on the way back from the rally. Came across a couple who were on a bus from Vermont, which I think was a 9-hour drive each direction. Right?
Wow.
Right, you got to be there. Right? And just people felt that need for connection. And that in itself, I think, was an important thing. That's what Josh is talking about, is that this has awakened up, I think, a need for connection of all of us, particularly in this time that, yes, we're lonely, but we're not alone.
So you've arrived in Israel.
Yeah.
After the rally in Washington, which, tremendous thanks to you guys, because I know that it was put together by two, the conference presidents and the Jewish Federations of North America. But the reality is that the OU took a major role in helping to push it forward and getting the communities out, et cetera, et cetera. And as an Israeli, I will say thank you, because the embracement, the support that it gave us here was really felt. Everybody here was talking about it. So thank you very much. But you arrived here after the rally.
Yeah.
And you came from, America and what the challenges that we spoke about in America to Israel. And I would love to hear from you after meeting with people that, gunshots onto their houses throughout Simchas Torah, to families that unfortunately lost a kid in battle. Would love to hear your emotions, your feelings, and your thoughts. Being here.
I actually think I started my trip at the rally, because that morning we had a little brunch beforehand, and I turned to some of our colleagues, and I said, "I got to go. That's it. I got to go. Let's get a flight. Motzei Shabbos. It was already sold out, so I came Sunday. And I was sitting there at the table at the brunch, and I turned to my friend Chaim, and I turned to a couple of Shlomo, and I turned to all these people and said, I'm going to go. You want to come? And a couple of them said, yeah, I do. I want to go. And so the energy from the rally, from being there, is what also fed me to want to bring that feeling and bring it here. I will say I needed all of that energy, because starting at 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday, and with the first thing, public event that we went to, Miriam Peretz speaking at her
25 years
son
for
Riel's 25th Memorial Askara
at Mount Herzl.
At her Herzl, yeah, and then going to see the freshly dug graves, and then nonstop for the last couple of days. It's been overwhelming, powerful, sad. But Mitch used a word before that I think really sums it up, which is resilient. And it's not pashut. It's not so simple that there'd be resilience, because so bad stuff happens. And people don't get up. People don't get through it all the time. And that's okay. That's to be expected. But what I've seen, what I've experienced in the last couple of days is one after the other, one stronger than the next. Perspective taking, appreciation, love, moving forward, not backward. And, talking about this hisorus, this opportunity, this moment to move forward. And that's been, my number one most powerful takeaway, is one after the next. Speaking to a woman who is in her mamad, her husband outside, the door, somebody at the door speaking Arabic, trying to get in.
When you say outside.
Yeah, in the apartment, but not in the safe room, and somebody trying to get in, and all he had is a knife, and saying the bracha.
Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, lemut al kiddush Hashem.
Al kiddush Hashem.
Die sanctify God.
Israel, and I'm gonna do. She's pregnant. I'm gonna do whatever I can. Baruch Hashem, they went away.
After 7 minutes.
He said he was so happy to say a bracha levatala. But you're sitting there talking. It's the first time, right? That, and they're back in the apartment, and
Oh, not yet.
Not moving back, but I'm saying they're standing there.
We were with them in the apartment.
Seeing it. The strength, the resilience, over and over and over again. From a Miriam Peretz, who's been, unfortunately, lo aleinu, dealing with this for 25 years, to this young family who's been dealing with it for 4, 5, 6 weeks. Across the board. The koach of Am Yisrael. Together, we saw that at the rally, the koach of each individual in Klal Yisrael, it's a blow away.
At the same time, I know we're trying to put a very positive spin on all this, which is, which we all feel.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for me, we were in Sderot yesterday visiting, the apartment of one of the OU Israel's employees down there, as well as
across the street from the police station.
Across the street, literally across the street from the police
used
station.
to be a police station.
And visiting the OU's Malcolm Balev Center, teen center in
Tony Khan House.
What struck me the most was really poignant for me was, as we driving past the road, the number of sukkahs that were still standing.
Yeah.
Some of them had caved in, but there were sukkahs everywhere because the world came to an end there. On Simchat Torah, and people, those who were able to get out, did not have a chance to take. So where else in the world do you find a sukkah standing in the middle of Kislev? Just shows you that devastation. Right? Sderot has been cleared out. Now people are starting to come back. But still, Sderot's a city of 30,000, 35,000 people, and they're estimating there are about 5,000 people who are there now. So it's not quite a ghost town. And there's that resilience, right? But it's not the same, right? It really is. It's just not the same.
I think the other, it's a very important point. Shouldn't be minimized at all. And that's one of the other takeaways that I have. There's some incredible the generosity that's going on, not just in North America but across the world. Jews sending stuff, sending love, support, money, resources, whatever.
When we see how many people are calling OU Israel, how can we help? How can we donate?
Yeah.
And there are endless ways.
And there are, and we visited an army base, and just seeing where they are and what they're doing and what they're going through there. And there is a need. There are needs for the army. There's a focus on those who are literally in a fight. The war is going on. We were sitting there, and artillery shells are being fired, and I just assumed, because we were there, that it was practice. And so halfway through the visit, one of them turned to me and says, "That's not practice.
It's real stuff.
We're shooting into Gaza." There's a war going on, so the support for the army is so important. That's one thing we've talked about a lot. The other thing we talked about a lot are the Chatufim. Bring them home. Let's go. Right? That's been a lot that we've spoken about in, at least in my experience in America. But the experience here is also about the civilians and the shock to the system of, yes, people who were in Sderot or who are in the north who are evacuated and have to go to places, but across the country, millions and millions of people are affected by this, and there are needs. And that's not stopping. The war should stop soon. It should come to an end appropriately at the right time with victory. But the needs for the ordinary average, not that there are any ordinary average Israelis, but the regular civilian needs, those who are living in hotels right now, those who've experienced trauma, those who have lost, those who are not sure where their loved ones are, in Gaza, in the north, wherever they're fighting. Each and every person here has been affected deeply, and those needs, I think, are going to need to be dealt with today, need to be focused on today, and need to be focused on unfortunately for many, many.
And the trauma that people are dealing with already. In Sderot, we met the head of security for the area, for the municipality in Sderot.
Such a special guy.
Right? Wonderful guy. He's broken.
Yeah.
Right? Because there wasn't anything he could do to stop it. He wasn't there, but there was nothing he could do. By the time they found out,
and that 50 people in Sderot were killed.
He's broken.
Although he's going strong. Because
he's working, and he's got a team, and they're doing unbelievable stuff, right? But the trauma, you can see it in people's faces. The evacuees who were in hotels, and we visited with quite a number of them.
Yeah.
Someone said, being in a hotel for like 3 or 4 days is pretty cool, right? Being in a hotel for 6 weeks is not so cool, right? With a family, with kids, away from your home, you don't have your clothes. And on top of the national trauma, just the day-to-day personal trauma. And most of them, family members, their husbands, are not there because they're up at the front. So they've got that stress and all of that.
And it's real stress.
For sure. And
you walk into some hotels and you don't see men.
The big focus, and that we've spoken about this a lot, Avi, that the OU is focusing on is planning for what we call the day after. The need, particularly of teens and kids, et cetera, but for the whole community, for dealing with the trauma and having places of community coming together, because this is going to be a long recovery.
A long recovery, and let's be honest, they're our front line. If Chas v'shalom, the terrorists would have gotten to bigger cities, right, without army bases that close. Chas v'shalom, I mean, al tiftach peh satan, but the fact that we were able to keep them in close proximity to the Gaza border, talk about 10 kilometers. Once you get on those highways, chas v'shalom, and I think that every resident in the state of Israel has endless hakaras hatov on an ongoing basis to those living in all the kibbutzim in the area of Gaza, to Sderot, to Ofakim, to Netivot, Kfar Maimon, Be'eri, Kfar Aza, Shlomit. These are all incredible heroes that are living there and ultimately being the front line for the Jewish people. And they're being embraced, right, in the most unbelievable way. I mean, you see the lineup of women standing outside the hotels here in Yerushalayim to pick up the laundry, right, the dirty laundry from the family in Sderot and bring it back, right? It's like, really? Right? This one lady was telling me today that, they're in a hotel. So she has a 3-year-old kid who loves petitim. How do you say petitim in English? Orzo, right? He loves orzo, right? He doesn't like rice, doesn't like noodles, doesn't like spaghetti, and in the hotel, they don't serve petitim because it seems like a simple food, right? Like, who serves orzo? But that's what her kid likes, right? So there's this lady in Keren Moshe that cooks petitim for her and brings it to the hotel. This way her kid could have, right? And the amount of washing machines and then dryers. And you start thinking about, people like Dror, people like Nir, that the OU employees that work with our youth in Sderot on a regular basis, right? And then we said, listen, you work with youth? Great. You're now in charge of what's happening in the Ramada. You're now in charge of what's happening in the Vert. You're now in charge of what's happening in the courtyard. And everybody took a different hotel. And ultimately, coming and saying, listen, let's take our talents and put them to work, because who's going to take care of the 0 to 3-year-olds, the 3 to 6-year-olds, right? The 6 to 12-year-olds, right? So they break them up, and then what's happening with the teenagers? Those same advisors that are living in Sderot just went through hell in Sderot. Baruch Hashem b'siyata d'ishmaya made it out through miracle, right? Are now without a house, without their clothing, without anything, right? And what's on their mind? They're chanichim. Yeah. How am I going to take care of my group of kids that I take care of on a regular basis in our club? And it's remarkable. You're talking about resilience? When we stood by Miriam Peretz's Askara, she said that in every single house that she's gone to, she has heard a story of heroism. And I think that we're seeing in those stories, of course, by those that were killed, but I think by those that are alive, by those that are picking up their sleeves and just non-stop working for Klal Yisrael and showing up to the hotels and showing up to the bases and putting on barbecues and putting on, it's remarkable, right? You take a mother of 6 and 7 kids living in whatever neighborhood in Yerushalayim, and you say, listen, take upon yourself also doing the laundry of another family in Sderot, or 2 or 3.
Right? We're showing our compassion, both those who are here and those who are spread out around the world, and we're taking care of each other. We're stepping up, and it's really gevura.
It's beautiful.
It's gevura. It's overcoming. Right? What's gevura? Atad gibor, ezehu gibor hakovesh es yitzro. Our natural inclination might be to close up,
right,
and let me just protect. Instead, we're opening up. We're sharing our love. We're showing our generosity, and now I'm just afraid Mitch is going to accuse me of being, too positive. I think it can't be understated that this character is coming out at this time, and not everybody, has reacted in the same kinds of ways. So you asked before, what did we do? So at one point, the ideas were flying in. Dozens of ideas and suggestions in every hour. So we sat down, the group of leaders across the OU, said, let's come up with 4 areas of focus that we're just going to stay with. Like you said, what are we good at? We work with the teens.
Best practices.
At risk, youth. Let's do that. What are we good at?
Hang lows.
Chizuk. Let's go. What are we doing for
As we speak, they're preparing for another event for mothers of soldiers, right?
Yeah.
In English, in Efrat, after Modi'in, and other, and try to think of those that need that chizuk. And what are you going to say to your son? He's going to call you. You haven't spoken to him since October 25th, right? Are you going to say, "Oh, finally you call," right? What are you going to say, right? Like what should be your reaction, right?
Yeah.
And giving that chizuk.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just came from a shiva house, and the father was talking about, giving his son a hug.
Yeah, the early family, Binyamin.
And one more hug, right? That's those opportunities, taking those opportunities at the same time to give each other hugs, and remember to give our own families the hugs that they need as well when we have the opportunity.
Absolutely. Especially coming after COVID, we weren't allowed to give each other hugs for such a long time. Your trip is coming to an end, and so is this podcast. But what would be your message, Mitch, to the Jews, the English-speaking Jews here in Israel, and then the Jews in North America?
It's, I think, really important for people to stay connected. I find very much that Israelis seem to be more worried about what's going on in America than they are what's going on here, and vice versa, right? But those connections between those who are mostly in America and those who are mostly in Israel is so important. Just the care and the sense that we're all one people, that we maintain those real emotional or regular connections, right? Let people know that you're thinking about each other in both directions. To me, I think that is a really important thing. We had a really inspiring accidental event yesterday. We were on our army base, and came across a young soldier, a lone soldier from Teaneck, New Jersey, who I think said she just came to Israel about 5-6 months ago.
Yep.
And here she is in the middle of a field somewhere down south, doing logistics work. And one of the people in our group was from Teaneck, and he said, "You want to call your dad on my phone?" Because she's not allowed to use her phone.
They don't have their phones, right?
They don't have their phones. So she had a chance to call her dad.
And he said, "If your commander gets angry at you, I'll tell him I'll take the blame."
And the look, just watching her face as she's speaking to her father back home for a couple of minutes, was, to me, the highlight of the day. It was just so inspiring, right? And you could feel the love, in that short phone call.
Yeah.
What you can imagine what the worry is of parents sitting in New Jersey whose daughter is out of contact, in a war, and vice versa. And all those contacts, I think, are so important, and we have to preserve, and we have to deepen them.
Beautiful. Josh?
Message to our sisters and brothers here in Israel, speaking English or not speaking English. We got to speak some French the other day at Shiva House also. We are thinking about you. We are focused on you. Yes, there's stuff going on in America. Our attention is here. Our tefillos are here. Our actions are for here. You're not alone. We're with you. And the message for my fellow Americans, Canadians, Europeans, wherever you are, come. Come for 2 days. Come for 3 days. Not to be taken around and chauffeured. Come, help, see, experience, share the love. That's what our voda is right now, is to be here, is to experience it. Not so that we know and we can tell a story, but so that when you go somewhere, and the chayalim, and the families, and the average citizen, the cab driver, the person in the restaurant, wherever it is, wherever you're walking on the street, they know that you're here for them. That's our job right now. That's our job.
And by the way, there's no better feeling than walking into a falafel or shawarma stand, okay? seeing a soldier ordering a falafel and telling the guy I'm paying for him. It's a great feeling.
Got to go do that now. Why don't you tell me that at the beginning of the trip?
We're going to do that now.
All right,
The Zisher girls.
Okay. Avi, thank you.
I want to take this opportunity to thank you, because the work that we're doing here with the youth, with the the mental stability of theirs, the spiritual, the physical, all the work that we're doing throughout the country, really is coming with your tremendous support. So thank you so much. I mean, when I stand up and I talk to my staff, and thank God we were able to gather 100 of them here this past Thursday, and I tell them, guys, the leadership in the OU in New York has your back and just want you to continue doing more and more and more. So thank you. And I can't end before thanking our supporters. Every single one of you, whether you donated X or you donated 1,000X, thank you. Because without your support, we wouldn't be able to do it. So B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue on.
Amen.
Amen.
Hope you have a safe flight back to America. Notice I didn't say home. Home is here.
I thought you told me I'm supposed to call my wife and tell her you're not supposed to fly out of a war zone.
No. So what happened was I told you I can't fly to North America now because there's a war here. You said, why didn't I try that with my wife? And I said, I'll remind you on Wednesday.
Okay.
So we still have to make that phone call.
Right.
But thank you very much to the team here for helping us out. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Avi.
So what to what?
Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazak.